It turns out that there are U.S. allies that are investigating Donald Trump. The great Kurt Eichenwald from Newsweek, who we've had on the program before, has revealed some stunning new developments about the Trump administration's dealing with foreign leaders and how European intelligence agencies are trying to track it all. And it turns out that as part of intelligence operations against the Trump staff, at least one unnamed U.S. ally has intercepted a significant amount of communication between Trump staff and Russian government officials. Now, you might say, well, David, you reported this to us yesterday. No, what I reported yesterday was that U.S. intelligence had based their conclusion that the Trump team and Russia had been in touch during the campaign based on intercepted data they had obtained. But what I'm telling you now is that U.S. allies, other countries, have also intercepted such information, which has led them to, of course, the same conclusion. And earlier this week, of course, it was uncovered that former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn made numerous phone calls to Russia while President Obama was still president to talk to them in part about sanctions. Michael Flynn denied that they talked about sanctions. Mike Pence went out and said, hey, they didn't talk about sanctions. It turns out that that was a lie. But now other countries, U.S. allies, are also involved in the obtaining and procuring of similar data. Newsweek sources who have direct knowledge of the situation said that these interceptions include at least one correspondence between Flynn and an official within the Russian embassy in Washington, D.C. Again, foreign agencies, foreign intelligence now corroborating what American intelligence has come out and said. It's not clear if these revelations refer to the phone calls specifically to Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak, which led to Michael Flynn's ultimate and eventual resignation, or if it's something new. But again, the story is the same. This other country's intelligence agency is saying that the interceptions are also not only limited to phone calls. We know that the intelligence operations by American allies began in August when Britain, again, Britain is not necessarily the country we're talking about, but we know that in August, Britain did receive intelligence that the Trump campaign was communicating with Russia. So now, for all of the Trumpists who are falling in line with Donald Trump's proclamation that we just can't trust our own intelligence agencies, we also now have foreign intelligence agencies, but not from rival or antagonistic countries, but from American allies who are saying they have figured out the exact same thing. Multiple European NATO governments have been conducting similar intelligence operations related to Donald Trump and communications with Russia. There's also an as of yet unnamed Baltic country which has been conducting intelligence operations against the Trump organization because they're afraid that a U.S.-Russia friendship might threaten the sovereignty of Baltic states. So this is not coming from some amorphous and vague desire to hurt Trump or take him down. At least with regard to this Baltic state, they are seeing what seems like a growing friendship between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin that is concerning to them with regard to their own national security. Of course, Newsweek's sources cited by Kurt Eichenwald in the article I'm referencing here spoke on the condition of anonymity, because obviously they don't have the authority to disclose any of this information, and they are worried that Donald Trump and his team, which are have been demonstrated time and again to be incredibly unstable, might try to retaliate against their governments. And one of the sources says that this intelligence is being spread all around NATO intelligence agencies. Unclear how much of it is being shared with American intelligence agencies. Think about what's going on, Pat. We now have learned, number one, Donald Trump is aggressively attacking the credibility of American intelligence agencies. I think that that's risky. I'm going to talk about that later. We've also learned that American intelligence agencies, because they are aware, or at least fearful of, how much of an open door there is between the Trump White House and Russia, They are withholding information from Donald Trump. And we've now learned that foreign intelligence agencies from allies of the US are withholding information from American intelligence, again, because they are worried about how much is in their interest to reveal. This is, you mentioned yesterday, I think it was going back to J. Edgar Hoover, this sort of level of disconnect or distress between the White House and intelligence agencies. We have a stunning situation here, don't we?
Well, I think it's great that foreign governments are looking into this because maybe our own intelligence agencies could be more tentative or reserved about criticizing the Trump administration, especially when their jobs could be at stake. But with regards to foreign governments, I mean, they don't have as big of a dog in the fight. I mean, Trump could threaten certain things like pulling out of NATO, for example, or starting some sort of trade war. But I think the risk is far lower with them.
Well, on the one hand, we have European nations that seem to know more about what's going on in the White House than certain American branches of government do, who bizarrely, maybe not bizarrely, but distressingly, seem unwilling to look into Donald Trump's ties with Russia. Congress has rejected the probing of Donald Trump's relationships and business partnerships with other countries, or the Trump staff's relationship with Russia, et cetera. And in addition to this, you have what I think you're right in terms of some of these countries don't necessarily have a dog in the fight in terms of Trump versus Clinton or whatever sort of micro thing we have going on. But the Baltic state example is a good one, which is some of these countries might see what seems to be a very, very increasingly clear friendship between the White House and the Kremlin that is concerning to them with regard to sort of their own national security and their own place within the geopolitical world. Republicans need to stop the political defensiveness and start looking into what is going on here. They are defending a guy because he has an R in front of his name at the risk of ignoring potential serious corruption here. We seem to be sort of living in a movie. And in fact, if this were a Hollywood script, I almost feel like we would see it and say, we've got to tone it down because this just isn't believable. It's actually 2017 American politics and it's going on and we're going to continue covering it.